Okay, good morning, Professor David J. De Los Reyes. Okay, it's good morning now. It will be July 3, 2023. The time is around 3:19 a.m. Okay, my next topic will be, this is a long video format. It will now be lesson number 9 on the title of the subject matter is a long video format. It's College Algebra lesson number 9. And this will now be the properties of real numbers. Okay, let's proceed. College Algebra, lesson number 9. This is properties of real numbers, part 2. Lesson number 8 was actually still properties of real numbers. I have discussed the 3 real properties the last time around. It's the so-called number 1 is the distributive, second one is commutative, and the third one is associative. Just a recall of the past lesson number 8. Distributive is it is something like this. It is an A multiplied by quantity B plus C, something like that. If we say distributive property, we could distribute, meaning the product of A times the quantity B plus C can be written as AB plus BC. That's the so-called distributive property. Okay? As simple as that one. So, distributive property for real number, any real number, it's not imaginary, will be applied to this product here. So, it applies to addition. Okay? The next one, I give the simplification of the commutative property. We just change the order. That is with regards to addition and multiplication. For addition, it is just like A plus B plus C. Okay? If I will group this one, group like that, this can be written as A plus B. This is plus C. It doesn't change the value. That is the so-called commutative law considering addition. Okay? For multiplication, we just remove this one. We change the operation from addition to multiplication. It is something like this. So, this can be written as the product AB. This is multiplied by C. No matter how you change the order, it does not affect the result. So meaning the product of A times the quantity B times C can be written as AB multiplied by C. That is with respect to multiplication. That is under commutative. And for the signs of, for the associative, it is also applied to, so this is now the summary of lesson number 8, applied to addition and multiplication. You just change the order of the grouping. So with respect to addition, right? So actually, this associative is similar to the so-called distributive, right? This is A plus B. This is plus C. You just change what will be inside the group, and it will not change the value of the expression. That is associative with respect to addition. For multiplication, it's the same again. The product A times quantity B plus C can be written as the product AB under one quantity, under one group. You can group that as one, but it doesn't matter because the operation is multiplication, right? This is multiplied by C. So that is associative law considering multiplication. That's the summary. I don't see any importance of this one, but since I have taught already advanced mathematics, I think the importance of this one is in the so-called algebraic manipulation of if we are discussing Laplace transform, because there are so many algebraic manipulations to bring out the answer. Because instead of the ordinary solution differential equation, we will be using algebraic manipulation, and we needed these properties here. Okay? We should know distributive, commutative, and associative to deal with the problem under Laplace transform. Okay, I will check my camera. Oh, it's fine. Okay, let's proceed with lesson number 9 now. The last three properties of real numbers under properties of real numbers. The next one will be part 2. So it will be 3. Identity property, the inverse property, and the multiplicative property. These are the so-called tricky part of properties of real numbers. Because without knowing this one, okay, you will be, you will be at a loss if you don't know this one. The identity property, this is for any real number A. We are only considering real number, and that will be A. I place it here. 0 is the so-called additive identity, and 1 is equal to the multiplicative identity. And what's the importance of this one? 0 is the only number that can be added to any real number, so that the value of that number will not change. Okay? And 1 is the only number that can be multiplied to that real number, so that the value of that real number will not change. So if we try to express this one in equation form, for the first one, by using this one, any real number A plus 0, it can be written as 0 plus A, and it will still be A. So the meaning of this, the only number that could be added to any real number so that the value of that will not change will be 0. Right? So that's the so-called additive identity. The next one, any real number A multiplied by 1, the multiplicative identity, can be written as 1 multiplied by A, and 1 multiplied by A is still A. Okay? It doesn't change the value. So the only number that can be multiplied to any real number so that its value will not change will just be simply 1. So 0 and 1 under the identity property is very important. You could verify that one by using your calculator. Any number added by 0, it will still be that number, right? Like a number 8 plus a 0, okay? So it will still be 8. So the significance of 0 is that 0 can be added to any real number, but it will not change the value of that real number, whether positive or negative. Okay? The next one, if the number is 8 or 9, we multiply 8 by 1, okay? The value will still be 9. So the only number that could be multiplied to any real number so that the value will not change is 1. Okay? So this is these two concepts here is very important. This one here. While you are studying engineering or taking algebra, don't forget this one. That is, a 0 plus any real number will be that real number, and 1 times any real number will still be that real number. That's number 1, and this is number 2. An example of this, if A is equal to 4, by using the additive identity, 4 plus 0 can be written as 0 plus 4, and 0 plus 4 is 4. It didn't change, right? Because what we add is 0. The next one, if that real number 4 is to be multiplied by 1, we could interchange, we'll write first 1, okay, this multiplied by 4, and 1 multiplied by 4 is still 4. So the number that will be multiplied to 4, which will make it 4, will still be 1. So that is the so-called identity property. Don't forget this two here. 0 plus any real number will still be that real number, and 1 times any real number will still be that real number. Okay, for the inverse property. Inverse, it's the reverse, okay? The number one form here is, if that real number is still A plus, the inverse of plus A is actually minus A. That's the inverse. Plus open quantity minus A. If I will write something like that, doesn't look good, right? But sometimes in the book we are reading, they don't put any quantity. But the proper way for it to look handsome, okay, we place a quantity here. That's the proper way. Okay, that is A plus open quantity. The inverse of A is minus A. Okay, and this should be equal to 0. Why it is 0? Because this is plus and this is minus, so it should be 0. Or if we write this one ahead, A minus A, since this is ahead, we forgot the quantity now. Don't put any more quantity, okay? Okay? It will just be simply minus A. Right? Plus we write this one plus A, and that will be equal to 0. So any number, if you add the inverse of that one, the sum will be 0. That's the meaning of this. That's why it is under inverse property. And that's under addition. That's under addition. But under multiplication, okay, the real number is A. And the inverse of that, if the operation is multiplication, it should be 1 over A. Okay? So A times 1 over A is 1. Okay? Or if we write this one ahead, 1 over A times A will still be equal to 1. Why it is 1? Because any number divided by itself is equal to 1. Right? So don't forget that one. Any number divided by itself is equal to 1, but there is an exception to this. That is 0. A divided by 0 is not equal to 1. It's not equal to 1. So under the inverse property, under the multiplication, any real number divided by itself is equal to 1 except 0. There is an exception here, that is 0. Because if we try to verify this one, the calculator is already programmed to give the correct answer, right? Because calculator was derived from this, right? A 0 divided by 0, what will be the value? It is undefined. It's an error, it's undefined. But if we get 4 divided by 4, okay, will be equal to 1. So the exception here is under the multiplication, under the inverse property, any number divided by itself is equal to 1 except 0. Because there come a time that this 0 over 0 will be another topic, okay? There will be an explanation for this. How come a 0 over 0 is not equal to 1? That will be another topic. Okay, an example for this. If A is equal to 4, plus 4, the inverse of 4 is negative 4, right? Plus open quantity negative 4 is equal to 0, or a minus 4 plus 4 is equal to 0. This cancels out, right? So 0 is equal to 0. It's true. So don't forget this one. any number, if you add the inverse of it, the sum will be 0. Okay? And any number, if you try to multiply the inverse of it, if the operation is multiplication, the value will be equal to 1. That's the so-called inverse property. Under multiplication, it's this. If 4 times 1 4 is equal to 1, because this 4 here cancel with this. So 1 times 1 is 1. Okay, this is 1 already. So 1 over 1 is equal to 1. So 1 is equal to 1. It's true. Right? That's it. Oh, that's the so-called inverse property of real numbers. For the multiplicative property, okay, this is also very important. You must have to place this concept on your mind. Okay, whether you are already an engineer, okay, or you are already a scientist, or you are already a pilot, okay, this concept will not change. Any real number multiplied by 0 will be 0. Okay, or we take the reverse of that one. Okay, it seems we are under the so-called commutative, right? We change the order. 0 times a will still be 0. Whether this 0 here is the second one or the first one, the product will still be 0. So don't forget that one. Any number, whether plus or minus, will be 0. Multiplied by 0 will be 0. A 4 multiplied by 0 will be 0. A 2, if it's negative, a negative 2 multiplied by 0 will still be 0. So under this so-called multiplicative property, any real number, whether plus or minus, multiplied by 0 will be 0. Don't forget that one. Okay, that's the real concept under algebra. An example of this, a is equal to 4. 4 times 0 is 0, and 0 times 4 will still be 0. How about a 0 times 0? What will be the value of this? I don't know if this is 0, but because this is another topic, right, under algebra. Oh, let's try to verify. A 0 multiplied by 0, what will be the value? It is 0. It is 0. But there come a time that we will be discussing this one, okay? That is a product 0 times 0 will be 0. Even the 0 over 0, how come it is not equal to 1? That's another topic. So that's it, guys. Those are the 6 properties of real numbers. Part 1 is the distributive law as applied to addition. Second one is the commutative property as applied to addition and multiplication. Okay, you just change the order or how you add and multiply. That's commutative. So meaning addition and multiplication are commutative. Under associative, okay, this also applies to how you add or multiply. You just change the grouping, right? What you group inside the parentheses, you can change it, it doesn't matter. Okay, the result will still be the same. And under the so-called property, identity property, a plus 0 will be a, and 1 or a times 1 will be equal to a. So this under the so-called identity property, 0 is very important and 1 is very important. If you add 0 to any real number, that real number will still be the same. Okay? And under multiplication, any real number multiplied by 1 will still be that real number. Under the inverse, any real number you add its inverse, the sum will be 0. And under multiplication, okay, a times its inverse, if we are multiplying, that is 1 over a, and the result will be equal to 1. And under the so-called multiplicative property, a times 0 will be 0. This is it. Okay? Any real number, whether plus or minus, multiplied by 0 will be equal to 0. Oh, that's it, guys. So, for those of you who are taking up college algebra, this is for you guys. If you want to subscribe to my channel is at youtube.com/and David J. De Los Reyes. This is a long video format. We are discussing concepts over here. Okay, plus example problems, so you will understand how the concept works. And if you want to share it, please click share. Good morning from Los Angeles.